The candlelight trembled across the restaurant's mirrored walls like a nervous heartbeat, catching the reflection of a woman who looked far too much like me. My sister, Clara. Her red dress shimmered under the soft glow, the same dress I'd once lent her for my anniversary dinner. Across from her, my husband Jack smiled in that quiet, intimate way that used to be mine alone. They didn't notice me standing behind the velvet curtain. Hidden by shadow and irony, the music of the violinist drifted through the air, slow and deliberate, while the scent of jasmine, her perfume, hung heavily around them. My pulse thudded in my throat as their laughter collided with the clinking of wine glasses. He brushed her hand across the table, his thumb tracing small circles as though memorizing her skin. My world, the life I had so carefully built, was being desecrated one soft smile at a time. They thought tonight was theirs, their secret moment. But every detail, the wine, the table, the flowers, even the song, had been arranged by me inside my purse. A small remote waited beneath my trembling fingers. One press, and the curtain between illusion and truth would fall. My name is Elena Carrington. I'm 38 years old. And this is the story of how I lost everything I believed in, only to find something much stronger within myself. There was a time when my mornings began with laughter, when sunlight spilled across white sheets, and the scent of coffee filled our little house on Maple Street. Jack would hum as he brewed his espresso, his hair still messy from sleep, his voice warm and low. We had been married 12 years, a dozen seasons of comfort and routine. To the outside world, we were the definition of stability. Our home was a quiet sanctuary. The walls were painted in soft creams, the furniture chosen carefully by both of us. On weekends, I tended the garden, a patchwork of tulips and lavender. While Jack repaired whatever needed fixing, he loved precision. I loved harmony together. We made life feel simple, and then there was Clara, my younger sister. Beautiful, magnetic, a little reckless but endlessly endearing. After her breakup 2 years ago, she started spending more time with us. She said our home made her feel safe again. She'd wander in with messy hair and bright eyes, wearing those flowing floral dresses that seemed to carry sunlight wherever she went. She adored Jack, always teasing him about his serious face, or coaxing a smile from him when work made him grumpy. I used to laugh too. It was innocent. I thought sweet, even. Clara needed support, and Jack was kind enough to offer it. I never imagined kindness could turn into chemistry. The three of us spent countless evenings together. Dinners, movie nights, even small trips. My mother would joke that Clara practically lived with us, and I'd smile proudly, thinking how lucky I was to have a husband and a sister who genuinely got along. Sometimes when I caught Jack looking at Clara, his eyes soft with fondness, I mistook it for brotherly affection. I never questioned the way she glowed when he complimented her. Love makes you blind, but trust makes you deaf. You stop hearing the things that don't fit the story you've written. Back then, I still believed we were unshakable, that love, when true, could never be threatened. But in hindsight, I see it all clearly now. The glances, the lingering moments, the invisible line that had already begun to blur. The night it began to unravel was ordinary. Too ordinary. It was a Tuesday. Rain streaked down the kitchen windows, and I was stirring soup when the clock hit 10 and Jack still wasn't home. When he finally walked in, he looked startled to see me awake. His tie was loose, his voice low, sorry. An unexpected client dinner, he said. He moved closer, brushing a kiss against my forehead. His shirt smelled faintly of jasmine, not the spicy cologne he wore, but something softer. Floral, Clara's perfume. I laughed lightly, masking the sudden chill in my chest. A client dinner? That late? He nodded too quickly. You know how these things go, except I didn't. Jack hated networking dinners. He always said small talk exhausted him. I wanted to believe him, but when he turned away, I caught the faintest trace of guilt in his eyes. Later that night, as he slept beside me, his phone lit up. A preview blinked across the screen. "Thank you for tonight." I needed that. I stared at it for a long time. My hand hovered over the phone, but I couldn't open it. I told myself there must be an explanation. A coworker, maybe? Someone who'd had a rough day? My rational mind built excuses faster than my heart could question them. But from that night on, something inside me shifted. He grew quieter, distracted. When I'd ask about his day, he'd smile. But his smile didn't reach his eyes. Sometimes, he'd step out for phone calls that lasted too long, returning with that same faint jasmine scent. And Clara, she began canceling our weekend brunches. She claimed she was busy, but her eyes darted away when I mentioned Jack. She talked too fast, laughed too loud, as though covering something. Then one evening while doing laundry, I found a crumpled movie stub in his jacket, a romantic film I'd wanted to see. 2 tickets, one for him, one unnamed. I remember staring at that small piece of paper until my vision blurred. My heart whispered what my mind refused to hear, but I didn't confront him. Not yet. I needed to know. I needed to see the truth with my own eyes. And it happened on a quiet night. When the world was half asleep, Jack had dozed off on the couch. His phone slipping from his hand. A soft chime pierced the silence. My breath caught when I saw her name on the screen. Clara. The message preview read, "I can't stop thinking about tonight. Same place next week?" My heart began to pound so hard I could hear it in my ears. I picked up the phone, hands trembling, and opened the thread. There they were, messages stretching weeks back, photos, inside jokes, declarations of longing, my sister's name tangled with endearments that once belonged to me. Then, a photo, the 2 of them, half lit by a hotel lamp, his hand on her waist. Her lips pressed to his cheek, my vision swam. I could hear my own heartbeat over the rain tapping the window. The room tilted as I whispered her name. "Clara," I wanted to scream. To wake him and demand why, but instead, I stared at his sleeping face, peaceful, unaware, and something inside me went cold. The next days were unbearable, every glance, every conversation felt staged. I could see the cracks in every smile, every lie that used to sound like love. My home, our home, had become a theater of betrayal. Then came the conference in Boston. Conveniently, the same weekend Clara was helping a friend move. That night, I followed him. I waited in my car across the street from the restaurant, the same one we used to visit every anniversary. Through the rain-smeared window, I saw them, Jack and Clara, their hands brushing across the table, laughing like lovers who believed they were invisible. I didn't cry. I just watched. The world seemed to slow, as if allowing me to absorb the full weight of their deceit. And in that stillness, something hardened inside me. They had stolen my trust, my dignity, my peace, but they would never steal my grace. I drove home in silence, the city lights blurring like tears I refused to shed. By the time I reached my doorstep, I already knew what I had to do. Vengeance didn't come in a flash of anger. It came in quiet precision. I spent the next week crafting my plan with the calm of someone who'd stopped breaking and started building. Every detail mattered. First, I reserved the same restaurant, their favorite hideaway, and booked the exact table they'd used. I requested the same wine, the same playlist, the same violinist who played soft love songs. Then I called Clara. I told her I was planning a romantic anniversary surprise for Jack and needed her help keeping him busy until dinner. Her voice trembled just slightly before she agreed. She had no idea she was walking into her own unveiling. The restaurant manager, an old friend, agreed to help. I told him I wanted to record the dinner for a private family memory. We installed 2 discrete cameras, one facing the table, one aimed at the wall where a projector would display something special. Next came the invitations. 2 identical notes sent to both Jack and Clara, signed only yours. They would each think the other had planned the surprise. When the night arrived, I dressed carefully. Emerald satin, my hair pinned back, lips the color of quiet vengeance. I arrived early, ensuring everything was perfect. The lighting, the music, the scent of jasmine I'd chosen deliberately. I hid behind a velvet curtain, my fingers brushing against the small remote. At 7:10 they arrived, both pausing in surprise at seeing the other. Confusion melted into laughter as they realized what they thought was a shared romantic coincidence. They ordered wine, they leaned close. The same pattern, the same whispered betrayal. And then I pressed the button. The lights dimmed. The projector flickered to life, showing first a slideshow of our family photos. Laughter, birthdays, shared moments of love. Then the images shifted. Text messages, screenshots, hotel receipts. Gasps echoed through the restaurant. Jack froze. Clara's glass slipped from her hand, shattering across marble. I stepped out from behind the curtain. The violinist stopped playing. "Surprise," I said softly. The silence that followed felt almost sacred. You could hear the hum of electricity, the whisper of shame crawling up their throats. Jack stood, face pale, lips parting. "Elena, this isn't, oh, it's exactly what it looks like," I said calmly. My voice didn't shake. It was steady, deliberate. You wanted secrecy. I wanted clarity. Clara's eyes filled with tears. "I didn't mean to. You did," I interrupted quietly. "You both did," I turned to her. My voice almost tender. "You were my sister Clara. I would have given you everything I had, and you took the one thing you shouldn't have touched." She sobbed softly. Jack tried to reach for me. "Please, Elena, let's talk." I shook my head, placing an envelope on the table. "There's nothing left to talk about." Inside were divorce papers, already signed. "I've sent the footage to your firm," I continued. "Apparently, relationships between partners and family members violate company ethics. You might want to check your email." His face drained of color. Around us, whispers spread like wildfire. "I don't need revenge," I said finally. "I just wanted the truth to have witnesses." Then I turned and walked away, the hem of my dress brushing against shards of glass. Each step echoing like a closing door, outside. The night air was cool and infinite. The stars above felt like silent applause. I had not destroyed them. I had exposed them. And somehow that was enough. 6 months later, I barely recognized my own life, and that was a good thing. The divorce settled quietly. I sold the house and moved to Vermont, where the mornings began with birdsong, and the lake reflected the world like a mirror too honest to lie. I started my own design studio. Small, elegant, built from the ashes of who I used to be. Clients loved my precision, my calm, my ability to transform chaos into beauty. They didn't know that every line I drew carried the steadiness I had earned through pain. Clara moved away. I heard she tried to rebuild. But guilt is a kind of gravity. It keeps pulling you down until you learn to live with the weight. Jack lost his firm partnership, apparently. Integrity had its price after all, but I no longer cared about their consequences. I was too busy rediscovering myself some evenings. I'd sit on my porch with a cup of tea, watching the sun sink into the lake. Painting everything in gold, that's when I'd realize I was finally free. Free from illusion. Free from waiting for someone else to choose me. For the first time, I didn't need anyone to love me to feel whole. It was late autumn when Jack appeared at my doorstep again. The air was crisp, leaves swirling at his feet. He looked smaller somehow, fragile, as though the months had carved regret into his face. "Elena," he began softly, "I made a mistake. I miss you. I miss us." For a moment, the past flickered. Our laughter, our home, the woman I once was. Then it vanished like smoke. You miss who I used to be, I said quietly. The woman who didn't question your stories, who filled your silences with trust. He reached for my hand. I stepped back. You taught me something valuable, I continued, my voice steady. Love without respect is just dependency, and I'm done depending. He nodded, eyes glistening, but I closed the door before he could speak again. Behind that door, I stood still, breathing deeply. No anger, no bitterness, only peace. It was over, completely. Betrayal breaks more than hearts. It fractures the way you see yourself, but in that shattering lies the chance to rebuild. I learned that forgiveness isn't for the betrayer. It's for the one who chooses peace over bitterness. Never let betrayal define you. Let it refine you. Because sometimes, the greatest justice is simply standing taller in the ruins of what tried to bury you. Did you like my story, and which city are you listening from? Let's meet in the comments. If this story touched you, you can support me by sending a super thanks so I can keep bringing more stories like this your way. Thank you so much for your sweet support. On the screen, you can see 2 new life stories that I highly recommend. There's so much more on my channel. Stories of strength, of heartbreak, and of healing. Don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next life story.